What's going on, guys? It's Char here, back with another video. Now, I know it's been a little bit of time. Essentially, I went on a vacation over this past weekend. I didn't really have a video set out for last week either. But that being said, we are back and we are here, and we're not doing an article review reaction or anything. I have read this article, but I did still want to talk about the newest hero revealed, Luke Cage, and so maybe we'll call this like a first look or something. Essentially, I'm just going to be going through the cards. I won't read through the article. Again, if you guys have not read this for some reason yet, please feel free, click the link in the description, read it. Peter does great work and we love the articles he gives the community. But if you have already read it, well, click it again and show some support. Essentially, I'm just going to be going through card by card. Plus, Fantasy Flight Games, I think, showed off 2 more cards on their socials since then. Those I haven't read, so those will be an actual blind reaction analysis. But yeah, let's talk about Luke Cage. So on the way on my vacation, I went to Pokemon NAIC. The Luke Cage article dropped like an hour after we started getting on the road. If we were maybe an hour later, we had pushed our start time a bit, I could have maybe got a super quick turnaround on a reaction video, but I'm glad that I didn't. It would have been super rushed and probably not good in any capacity. So give me a little bit of time to sit down here after I've had a couple days to digest, even though I wasn't really thinking about Marvel Champions, and talk about these cards. So just scroll down the article here. So one thing I will say, the choice of art they picked for a lot of these cards looks really cool. And again, the artists that they have on the game now just look great. Like, I'm looking at all these cards, even on this little 5-card spread, just looks really good. It all looks like really consistent, even if it's not like from the same artist, or even if it's pulled from comics. It just looks like really consistent and it like belongs in a set. Sometimes there'll be some heroes with some like shaky art choices, or like something that doesn't super match up to what their hero card looks like. In general, the cards that were picked for Luke look really, really good. So we're just going to go through here and we're just going to click through the actual cards and just talk about them. So the first thing that surprised me is I thought Luke Cage was going to be like a similar like bruiser 14 HP hero. I really expected that to happen, and they kind of went in a different direction with it. You see, you have Luke Cage 4 recovery, which is definitely bigger than normal. Alter Ego Civilian. He has 6 hand size, 10 hit points. So the 10 HP means he doesn't have access to the readies from like limitless stamina and whatnot, which is a pro and a con. Usually when you have 14 HP, your hero side has 4 hand size. And as we can kind of guess here, his hero side has 5 because he has 10 health. He has a passive ability called Unbreakable Skin. Luke Cage can have any number of tough status cards, and attacks against Luke Cage lose piercing. This is really interesting because, as you know, Colossus is able to have 2 tough status cards on his hero side only. This one is like Luke Cage is Luke Cage no matter what side he's on, whether he's Alter Ego or he's his hero. He has his Unbreakable Skin, and the fact that he can have any number of toughs is kind of crazy, which means he might never take damage, and also for the fact that there's no way to get rid of them because all attacks against him lose piercing, which is crazy. He has an action, which is search your deck and discard pile for the bursting process upgrade and add it to your hand. Limit once per phase. This is one thing where it's like, is he going to have multiple copies of this? I doubt it. I think this is just like, what's it called? Sometimes your setup abilities can get griefed by stuff going on with like the villain or like Ultron putting it as a drone. So I think having them as actions make it more flexible. Of course, it does, make it, and it makes it more flexible because even if you draw into it like you would do with the setup ability, you can still spend it for a resource and then still use the action to get in your hand, which is pretty good. I kind of like this, and we'll see what the bursting process is here in a second. When we move on to his hero card, we look at his stats. He has 2-1 defense, which is definitely on the lower side of heroes, but when you realize that his ability Unbreakable Skin means that he can't really ever take damage because, tough statuses lose piercing, he can have as many as he wants on him, it kind of makes sense why he has that 1 defense. Could he get caught out if he gets hit like 3 or 4 times and he doesn't have enough toughs? I think it's a possibility, which I think would be crazy, but yeah, it definitely could happen. He also has a force response on his hero card. After a tough status is discarded from Luke Cage, he takes 1 unpreventable damage, ignoring tough. So I think unpreventable is going to be a new keyword. I'm not necessarily sure how they're going to define that. I think they talk about it a little bit in the article here. It's been a couple days since I've read it. But essentially, even though Luke Cage is going to be basically unkillable, when he's losing these toughs, his HP will go down, which is very important to keep in mind. I think that's a really interesting way to kind of make this guy basically unkillable, but actually he's ticking himself a little bit, whether that's through the side effects of the process or just him getting worn down. I think it's a very cool way to show this, and it gives him a reason to go alter ego and use his 4 recovery stat, which is pretty good. The fact that you need to get through, 4 toughs to even take 4 damage means he still will be relatively tanky, and having any sort of, survivability or, having any sort of survivability or healing is going to be really good for a character like this. One thing that I just noticed and thought about, he's going to be really susceptible to encounter cards that blank your text box or make your identity card blank, because he's going to lose a ton of value for that, especially if you're trying to stack toughs or something, and for the fact that he loses his immunity to piercing. But on the other end, you can leave it blank for a round and then use your tough, and now you don't take the unpreventable damage, so it's kind of a give or take. It's probably usually bad though. Moving on to the next card here, we have the bursting process. So this is what he can search off his alter ego action, and this is what the kind of, initially reading, I'm like, how is he going to stack toughs? Where are these toughs going to come from? It's basically this card. It's a condition 2 cost upgrade. It's unique, which of course you're only playing 1 Luke Cage at the table. Alter ego action, exhaust the bursting process. Give Luke Cage a tough status or 2 tough status cards if he has none. I have skin like steel and muscles to match. This basically brings his whole kind of gimmick together. So anytime he needs to take down, flip down an alter ego and get a tough, he can get 1, or he can even get 2. I saw a little bit of murmurings about ready for a fight, or that new justice type of ready for a fight for him, but I kind of, in my opinion, is anti-synergy a little bit. He kind of really does want to, when he goes down, he kind of wants to take a turn down, because you want to use this twice, in my opinion. Now, if you're flipping down every single turn, it's basically the same thing as using it twice. I just don't know how much alter ego access he will realistically have. And if he gets a lot more, then it won't really matter if you use the ready for a fight cards, because you're always going to be flipping down. But I just don't imagine he's always going to flip down. I don't know. That's just my prediction. The art here is really cool as always. I don't know a ton about Luke Cage. Again, I'm reading through the defenders in before they come out, so hopefully I have a bit more of an informed take when some of the later ones come out. But I feel like I'm always going to be behind a little bit, so maybe I jump forward to read. Anyways, maybe I jump forward for Electra or Iron Fist, so I know a little about Electra because of Daredevil's Frank Miller stuff. Moving on, that was a tangent. Yeah, I think this card's really good. I think it does what he wants to do, which is stacking toughs or just getting him a good amount of them. If he runs out somehow, it gives him 2. So now on his roll down, he gets 2 and then 1 on the way back up, putting him back up to 3, which should be more than enough to get his cards rolling. Even if you already have a tough, let's say you have 2 toughs, you roll down and get 1 more, 3, you roll up 1 more, or before you roll up 1 more, 4. So he just gets all the toughs he needs to get going. This card is really interesting. So he has a 1-cost attack event called Knuckle Sandwich. Hero action attack, deal 3 damage to an enemy. You may discard a tough status card from Luke Cage to return this event to your hand. So 1 for 3 is a pretty good rate for an attack event. But the biggest thing I didn't realize is this is a resource sink, but for his tough status cards. Let's say it's the end of the game and you have managed to amass 10, 15 tough statuses or something like that, and you just need output. That's what this card is in the... that's what this card is in his kit for. Now, I wish it would discount it to 0 so you could just keep throwing the knuckle sandwiches, but still, you deal 1 damage, you trash a tough, put it back in your hand, deal 1, trash a tough, put it back in your hand. So it's a tough sink and a resource sink. So with 6 cards, you turn it into 9 damage, which isn't the most efficient thing in the world, but even discarding a tough to give it yourself, oh no, it's not 6 resources. It's since it goes back to your hand, it only ever costs 1 more each additional time. So you could go 5 card hand, knuckle sandwich, bring it back, and then you can do it 4 more times. So you can do 12 damage with a 5 card hand, taking 4 in the process. That's pretty decent, especially if you're trying to push damage at the end game. You have a basic activation for 2 more. I like this card. I don't think it's anything crazy or strong or super or anything like that, but I like the wording. I think it's fun. I like the art. I like the ability for you to use cards in your hand as a resource sink and also use your toughs at the end of the game when you might not need 13 of them on you. The biggest thing I'll talk about before that is that I don't know how Luke is going to get over the threshold to really start rolling in the toughs. For me right now, I feel like you'd want to use your toughs as, proactively as possible to block for other people on the table, because you literally can't be pierced. So you almost always know how much damage you're taking. So you'll take your hit on a tough, then you might block for someone who's squishy on the table on a tough. And then you run into an issue where it's okay, well, I'm exhausted and I don't have any ways to generate toughs. I have to go down, but all my hero cards deal with the amount of toughs I have on the hero side. So I'm hoping one of the 2 revealed cards deals with something like that, of him getting that tough generation over the threshold, because if he doesn't have it, then what I think it might be is that we get to rely on aspect cards to get toughs, which is going to be obviously protection has a lot of ways to do that, and some of the other aspects have a little bit. We have an invulnerability from basic, which Luke Cage is on, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. 5-cost event here, which was crazy. When I read it, Sweet Christmas, they really do love this changing cost of events because it has the star next to it, and I like it too. I think it's very cool. I like that they're doing it. Sweet Christmas must be his catchphrase. Again, I'm not familiar with Luke Cage as a hero. Attack, reduce the cost to play this card by 1 for each tough status on Luke Cage. Hero action attack, deal 5 damage to the villain and each minion engaged with you. Obviously, if you hit this for 0, it's super good. If you hit this for 1, it's super good. If you hit this for 2, it's probably still good. So you need at least a minimum of 3. And as we talked about with his alter ego action, the bursting process, when you flip down, you get 2 toughs and 1 more when you go back up and you flip up. This is like 2-cost card and it's super efficient to play. Or not super efficient, but it's definitely good to play if you need an effect like this. 2 for like 10 damage, especially if you have, it only ever goes up if you have multiple minions engaged with you, is really, really good. Now, one downside I will put on this card is I really wish you could choose any player and not just minions engaged with you. Maybe he'll have something where he like wants to put like minions in front of him and like draw off, bring it or something, but I don't know. Every time he takes an attack, he takes 1 damage, so I feel like you don't really want minions to be sitting in front of you. Anyways, it can be really efficient if you have a lot of minions in front of you for some reason. Maybe in aggression, you can do some target spotter nonsense with like aggressive stance. And so like you're farming up toughs, and then you target spotter every minion in a multiplayer game, search the Sweet Christmas, and then you just use it to blow up the board. I feel like that could be definitely something really fun and cool. You're like on minion control doing throw a Hall of Heroes or something. I might be cooking a little too hard right now, but that seems like it could be interesting if it's something you'd want to build around. We have a 1-cost upgrade, Power Man, which I think was Luke Cage's original hero name. Title, after a tough status is discarded from Luke Cage, exhaust Power Man, draw a card. Tremble before the power of Power Man. That sounded weird. Luke Cage. Tremble before Luke Cage. Okay, which is really funny. I guess it shows that he kind of grew out of the name Power Man, but it's still in his kit, which is funny. This one's really interesting. I think this was a card that was kind of expected to be in his kit. If you compare it to, I think it's the Iron Will from Colossus. Anytime hit tough status is discarded from him, he draws a card. That being said, Colossus is not limited once per round or by an exhaust, but this one is. Now, the reason I think why that is because this is still basically, in my opinion, like Sorcerer Supreme. So how I quantify that is like you're going to be losing a tough status basically every round, especially in hero mode. So what this card reads is 1-cost Sorcerer Supreme, right? You take a damage, you lose a tough, you draw a card. So you have a 5-hand size, you go to a 6-hand size. Even if you're rolling up from alter ego, you have a 6-hand size, you have a knuckle sandwich or some other outlet to spend a tough, you have 6 cards in hand, 2 7 cards in hand. So it's better Sorcerer Supreme. Maybe that's the thumbnail, maybe that's a clickbait quote for me, but this card is super good, especially for what Luke Cage wants to be doing. You want to get this card down. Seeing that extra card is going to make your turn so much better. And again, people are going to compare this to something like Colossus, where, well, Colossus can draw like 3 cards off of his Iron Will, and that's true, and it does give him a stat buff, but it also costs 1 more. And Luke Cage and Colossus, they are similar, but they are not the same. Colossus is a 14 HP hero. He only has 4 cards in his hand. He has ways to cheat flipping up with his armor up, which maybe Luke will have. That's something I was definitely discussing in my Discord a little bit, but this card is really, really strong in my opinion. Then we're going to have his next card, his 2-cost event. Again, every single character's going to have a Thor event these days. I don't think they make characters without them anymore. Stand With Me, actually I think is representing him being the mayor of New York here. So the greatest city in the world, I will not allow it to fall into chaos. It's a thwart. Hero action thwart. Give Luke Cage a tough status. So again, we have tough status generation right here. Gives him a tough just for playing this card for 2 costs. Still pretty good if you compare it to invulnerability, which is 3 for the same effect. Not bad. Remove 1 threat from a scheme for each tough status on Luke Cage to a maximum of 5. So I think it's really interesting why there's a maximum on this card. Maybe that leads into the idea that he's going to be able to generate tough super easily, because why else would you put a cap on it? But again, at 2 for 5 and a tough, this is like extremely efficient, right? If you have 4 toughs on you, you get the 5th one, and then you also do 5 threat removal and a tough for 2 costs. Is super crazy. Most people will play 2-cost allies just for a block anyways and a little bit of output. This is literally the same thing. Like I want, again, when I first read Luke, and I felt kind of whelmed, right? You read something like a Jessica Jones, and you read like Daredevil and Echo, and these characters seem like super strong. They're doing a ton of things, and Luke's whole thing is tough statuses, right, and not taking damage. But the fact that he can't be pierced, he will only ever take 1 damage from each attack because of his force response, is super strong and uniquely powerful. This card, it could have thwarted 0, 2 costs get a tough. Okay, maybe we're not playing a card like that, but it's still better than invulnerability. The fact that you're playing 2 costs to get a tough and a little bit of output, that's what people play like Mockingbird, or yeah, like Mockingbird for, right? Or that's what people play like Ironheart for, or like any of the other like 2-drop allies. Of course, Ironheart and like Maria, they draw you cards, but Kalu also like draws you a card, but like people play these low cost allies because they're good, right? And they do something in addition to giving you a chump block for turn. That's what this card does. If you have any toughs on you, it's 2 for like 4 threat removal, and you get that protection for the next activation. Very strong card, and I think it might have been overrated. I haven't been tapped in seeing people's reactions to Luke and what they thought. But very, very good card, and very important. You're probably going to want to play this, especially to get over that tough threshold, and you're also doing output on the board. We have his signature ally, Jessica Jones, his wife here. 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 HP. Very, very similar to the Justice ally, right? I think it's exactly the same stats. And instead of being getting higher thwart for the number of side schemes in play, Jessica Jones gets +1 thwart for each tough status on your identity for a maximum of +4 thwart. So if you wanted to talk about a reason to keep your tough status card, to keep them rolling, this is the reason. An absolutely crazy amount of stat manipulation here. If you can be, essentially this sets your baseline at 4 toughs, and especially if you're playing leadership with sidekick or something like that, your baseline should be 4 toughs, right? And in doing so, you have an ally that just thwarts for 5. Crazy, crazy efficient. Even you have her thwart for like a 3, then 4, then 5. What, it's a 3-drop ally that thwarted for like 12 over the course of 3 turns. It's very, very good. There's like so many Justice events I wish they could be a card like this. Very strong ally, very good effect. And even if you need to use her attack, I mean, 2 attack is not anything bad. I think Sidekick's going to be absolutely crazy. I think he'd want to have her ready just to use his stats a little bit. And Jessica can get an inspired on her, and all these other things bumping her thwart to like 6. And then like her attack to 3 if you need her to swing. I think it's going to be pretty cool. Wow, very, very strong ally. Then we go to a 1-cost upgrade, Metal Bracer. And I remember in the article he has 2 of these. So armor item, Luke Cage gains Retaliate 1. I love the Retaliate keyword, and I love that Luke Cage gets it in his hero kit. It's very, very strong. But the more important part, in my opinion, is his hero interrupt. When any amount of damage would be dealt to Luke Cage, exhaust Metal Bracer, reduce it by 1. In my opinion, what this card is in here for, it's for all those random errant effects that are like take a damage, or deal 1 damage to each character you control, or a minion hits you for 1, or you have a boost effect that's like deal a damage to your identity or something like that. Essentially what this does is it stops all those random ping chip hits from villains from taking one of your tough statuses away. For example, if you get activated against a villain once, you block for someone else, and you have like boost effects that are like dealing 1 damage, you're going to lose like 4 HP in a turn, have no toughs, and basically have nothing to do. This is kind of like insurance policy against stuff like that. And Retaliate's really good because you're never going to be chump blocking with an ally. Your tough always eats every single hit no matter what. Because you can't be pierced. So it's just super good. You're going to be dealing chip damage back to the enemy with that Retaliate too. And also you're going to be protecting your toughs from getting pinged off by random errant hits of damage. That's basically it for Luke Cage. I could talk about these allies really quickly, but I think the only thing that I was super interested in, we'll talk about his team up cards here. I do really like both of these cards. The defensive formation and the righteous purpose specifically is a really cool new archetype for leadership, to be able to get a ton of value out of allies if you can manage to give them toughs or leave them at 1 HP somehow. So much value this card would generate if you can at least get like 3 allies rolling with it, or even on the way out having them activate. Is very, very good. I want to talk about dynamic duo. Luke Cage and Iron Fist are on this card. I think this card is crazy. So if we read this, search your deck and discard pile for a team up card and an ally named by that team up card's keyword. Add those cards to your hand shuffle. Essentially, you can read this like suit up. It's like slightly worse, right? You can't like find sidekick in your signature ally, but any hero on a team up card will consider running this, especially if their signature ally is really good. Gamora was obviously the first thing that came to my mind. Playing Gamora, you use this to find Nebula and Daughters of Thanos. So you get Nebula down, you get like a ton of value off of finding an event, and then you use that event to pay for Daughters of Thanos to draw 3 cards. It's just very, very strong. It's a way to make team up cards consistent, which I think team up cards are super fun, but it's super hard to get them to line up, especially on lower player counts solo, or when no one at the table is playing the other half of the hero that you want to team up with. I think this card's super cool, and then we know we have Unbreakable Bond. This is from Jessica's article, which again, very good event, which is you remove 3 threat from a scheme and you can heal 3 damage among Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. Super good in Luke Cage too, because it gives him a little bit of threat removal and also lets him heal all the chip damage he's been taking, or heal the Jessica Jones out to keep her around and like thwarting for like 5 every turn, which is super, super crazy. Also, he does have a team up card with Iron Fist that is revealed. Iron Fist has not been shown off yet, but maybe we can intuit a little bit about what he's going to do here. A 0-cost event, hero action attack, deal 2 damage to an enemy, and give a tough status to a character. It seems really good. It's 0 cost for 2 on a tough is extremely efficient. If you can manage to keep this Iron Fist ally, the leadership one on the board, or play with Iron Fist when the defenders have all released, a very, very strong card. Wow, and a very good effect, especially for Luke getting that tough for basically free and a little bit of chip damage. Really, really strong. In general, from the article, Luke seemed, my impression was that to the community at large, he was going to seem kind of eh. I think they thought he would look okay, that he had nothing super interesting. And the more that I've really thought about Luke Cage and had it simmer for a couple of days, I think he seems very strong, but like in a way that's different from the other heroes. I think the other heroes have a lot of push numbers, and their events are overtly strong, and their kids are overtly strong. And Luke Cage feels like a very simple strong, which he was always going to be. I think I forgot who. I think Aaron's the one who was designing this, was saying that he has a play the line between making him basically unkillable and being able to take damage and be knocked out, and also you want it to be on the simpler end. He's definitely on the simpler end. What Luke Cage does is he gets a ton of toughs, he doesn't take damage, and he uses the toughs and spends them in unique and interesting ways. His cards deal with the amount of tough statuses on him, his ally deals with the amount of tough statuses on him, but an effect like that is super powerful, especially, it's, in my opinion, where Luke Cage, maybe some of the other heroes, their highest ceiling and the hardest content is maybe could be lower. I feel like Luke Cage gets better as the scenarios get harder. When you're fighting a Ronin or these guys with like gigantic attack stats and they get piercing, and you have something like fanaticism from Ronin, which gives them piercing and overkill, Luke Cage does not care, and he will keep you guys alive. He's gonna take the fanaticism hit, boom, 1 damage because he can't be pierced. Then what's it called? Someone else is going to get attacked, and he's going to defend for them, boom, can't be pierced. And now you're already chewing through the fanaticism a bit. And he's just, I think he's like just very, very solid. I think Power Man is a 1 card that originally I was like, well, why doesn't he draw infinite cards? And then I thought about it for half a second. I'm like, no, this is pretty good. Very, very good title. He just seems strong. I'm wondering, the one thing that I think could be choke points for him, right? So what I would say is that I think these cards assume he has an easy way of getting toughs on him. When you read a card like Sweet Christmas and you read the Thwart event like Stand With Me, my impression is that there are cards that we have not seen yet that will help him bolster his tough card economy, help him get it up to a higher level than just using the bursting process of getting 3 every turn /2 if you have none, or 2 every turn if you have some. My impression is that I think he's going to have other ways to generate toughs. He does have one with the Stand With Me, which is another one, but he needs to be over that threshold of around 4 toughs, and then past that, it's kind of overkill, right? You want 4 for your Thwart event, or I guess 3. You want 4 for your Thwart event to be max value. You want 4 for Jessica Jones to be max value. So that's kind of the magic number that you want to be above, and then anything above that is kind of like overkill, right? If you need to defend for people in protection, of course you need to go over. If you need to essentially, if you need to spend it off Knuckle Sandwich, you want to get rid of him. If you sit around 5 to 6, it's probably good. Maybe there's a reason to go above. Maybe there's a reason to spend a lot to go below. But I have not seen the other 2 cards yet. But I thought he looked very powerful. I thought in my first read I was kind of whelmed by it, and then I read it again, and I really thought about the idea of having toughs that can't be pierced. And I'm really excited. He looks simple, which is not a bad thing. I think it will be a character that I like take to a con. It's like 12 a.m. and I'm like, oh, I just want to play something simple. I'm just gonna, bring out sidekick Luke Cage, and I'm gonna get toughs and not worry about my HP bar. Very similar to like a Deadpool. I'm gonna get some toughs, not worry about my HP bar. I'm gonna side by side and turn sideways with Jess because he's gonna be thwarting on the board. Luke Cage is gonna be punching the guys on the board, and I think it's gonna be a great time. So at the end of reading this article, and initially when I read through it the first time, I was still left with two questions though. He seems very, very strong, but there are still two big asterisks for me that I think you need some form of alter ego access if the bursting process is his only reliable way in Kit of generating toughs. Being able to get to alter ego easily without having to like generate threat or hold the table down, or just something that lets him cheat alter ego access, I think would be very, very solid for a character like this. And the other thing, which I think almost every single character in the game benefits from, is getting a ready. The reason why readies I think are important, or a defend without exhausting, because of how strong his tough statuses are. So if you are blocking the hit for yourself because the villain's just going to swing into you, and you have someone really squishy on the table, like a Captain Miss Marvel without a wiggle room, or like a Nova or something like that without a force field projection, having one of those two squishy characters on the table, being able to defend for them without having to tap to exhaust with your one defense, I think would be really strong. Something to like redirect a hit, like a Herc's Helm into you, or he has just something in his kit that lets him ready by like spending a tough or something, could also be very interesting. But I think with all those two columns, even without those, he looks solid. I think with those, it might push him over the edge to being very, very strong. I have no ideas what these next two cards do, so let's go ahead and go to the first one now that was revealed. He might have a couple coming in the coming days, but I wanted to talk about the ones that were shown so far. The one cost support Fogwell's gym. That is where Matt and his dad, Matt Murdock and his dad, would train when they were younger. I guess his dad didn't know that Matt was training when he was younger. I've been reading a lot of Daredevil, so got a one cost support location. I don't know what this is gonna do. Let's read it. Response: after a tough status is discarded from a defender character, exhaust Fogwell's gym. Ready that character. What? This is exactly what I was talking about. Oh my gosh, he has a one cost ready every turn. No, that's crazy. This is literally the card I was asking for. That is crazy. Again, I have not read these cards. If you guys want to join the conversation, my initial thoughts on cards and more in-depth thoughts, feel free to join the Discord. But I was talking to Rain in my Discord about this. I'm like, he needs a ready in his kit because of how strong his toughs are. This is exactly what I was talking about. You face tank the hit for yourself as a tough status. Then you defend for somebody else. And since you're a defender character that was discarded, you can use the response to ready up. Super strong, means you can even use 3 of your toughs in a turn. Very good. That is super, super exciting. I love that. And I love the fact that Fogwell's gym is a very key place for a lot of defenders characters, apparently, because this is not just you. It could be any defender character. It can be like an ally who ready up, so it's like a Angel's Airy if you're doing that kind of leadership tough generation stuff. Very, very cool. Wow, this card is super awesome. I think this really ties a lot of things together. After a tough, it says, busted a lot of punching bags at this old place, and they never kicked me out. I don't think there's a lot to say. It's a one cost ready, right? It's a one cost ready for Luke every single turn. Readies are super strong and powerful. Yeah, this is, wow, really, really good. What's the next one? Harlem's Hero. We have a one cost event. I'm assuming this is going to give him toughs. Just looking at the art. Hero action, skill. Give Luke Cage a tough status card. Okay. For each tough status card on Luke Cage, choose a character you control and... What? What? What are we doing? He has another one. He just has Lamilla stamina. It's like everything I was asking for. It's super good in any aspect that can buff his stats, and if it's not in an aspect that can buff his stats, you're just playing leadership and you're giving an Avengers Assemble for one cost. Oh man, that's crazy. No, that is just wild. Whoa, these cards are crazy. I understand why they weren't in the kit, because these don't super focus on his like kind of tough status identity. Maybe Fogwell's gem could have been. Wow, this card is very strong. Yeah, I don't know. It's one cost to gain a tough. So he has tough status generation, that of Harlem's Hero. He has tough status generation of To Me, or I keep forgetting the name of the card, Stand With Me. Wow. Yeah, both of these cards are really strong. I thought he would have issues generating toughs. I think these don't generate like above the curve, so like you still have to play a card for a tough. So you're playing Harlem's Hero to generate a tough and already super efficient. You're also playing Stand With Me to generate a tough and already. You want to roll down a Bernstein process. Essentially, you want to give Luke, it sounds like you want to give him the time to generate those toughs. You want those toughs to be rolling in turn after turn if you can. Then he can use those toughs super effectively in order to defend for the heroes or spend for effects or get a ton of readies like Harlem's Hero has going on. He's going to probably really like getting allies in front of him, especially for a card like Harlem's Hero. He's going to like getting readies here. Yeah, wow. that seems like really good. I don't know where I'd rate him like in terms of general power for all the other defenders we've seen, right? But he's very, very strong, and I think both of these cards are make a very good case to buffing up this hero. They're very, very good in my opinion. What do you guys think about Luke Cage? Down in the comment section down below. I know this is a bit different. I didn't get a chance to do a reaction video, but hopefully throwing in the 2 new cards that got revealed, getting my initial thoughts, and especially my reveal reactions to these 2 cards. Hopefully those were fun for you guys. What do you guys think about Luke Cage? Did I give you a new perspective on thinking about this hero? Why the fact that you can't take any damage is really broken? I'm sure everyone knew that, but maybe not how broken that actually is, especially when you get to harder content in the game. Let me know down in the comment section down below. This looks super cool. He looks super strong, and I'm super excited to get a chance to play him when he releases later this year. Leave a like down below, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one. Goodbye.